Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. This time we are going to be talking about Tetris Attack on the SNES. This is kind of a weird one. It's basically a version of Tetris, but you have to kind of match 3, 4, 5, 6, or set up chains of different colored blocks in order to, well, win the game or at least advance. There is a story mode here, but it's not really necessary to, know everything or experience the game in any way. In each one of those story modes, you just need to keep your blocks from reaching the top of the screen. So it's a little bit different where instead of the blocks falling down, they're scrolling upwards. And the only thing you need to do is make sure they don't actually scroll up. And eventually you get like a little dark line that appears at the bottom of the screen, and you just need to get your blocks you just need to get all the blocks below that line. It's pretty easy. I didn't have any real issues with this. The only thing that I ran into was me just not wanting to continue playing the game, which was kind of a shame because it's fun, but it's not that much fun. This is another one of those games that kind of looks like candy. If you've seen the one, or if it's been out yet, the Kirby's Avalanche, which was just a reskin Puyo Puyo, that game looks like candy. This game definitely looks like it. It looks a little kiddie, to be honest with you, and that's not a bad thing for this. It was kind of weird that they decided to jam a bunch of Yoshi stuff into it, but it sort of works with whatever the heck they're trying to do here. I can't really explain why I enjoy this so much, but it is a fun little game. It's got sort of an interesting idea behind it. But like I said, it gets just a little bit boring because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. If you don't have a second person, then you kind of lose some of the fun in this. But each level is kind of cool. When you do hit a combo and it stops for a little bit, you get the little guy showing up. There are a lot of really nice visual cues here. And I think all the blocks look different enough so you don't have to really be worried about... you don't have to be worried about actually, figuring out what stuff is or where to move things around. If you get too many blocks on the screen, it can be hard, but not that hard. What do I like and dislike about this? I think the game is pretty fun for what it is. I remember playing it mostly in like 2-player mode with a friend of mine, mostly because the story mode is just not all that interesting. It's nice that there is a story mode, but it doesn't really need to be there at all. I do like that it gives you 2 different modes, 3 different modes really. You have like the endless game, so you can just keep playing for as long as you want, or you can, do the story mode, and there's really not too much of a reason to do the story mode, to be honest with you. I know that's kind of a shame, but it's perfectly enjoyable without it. One thing that I don't like about this is just how easy it is. There's not as much challenge as there could be unless you really take your time and just wait for everything to happen. That kind of causes a little bit of an issue with me where you could just kind of sit back, relax, and do your best to get to the clear line, or you can kind of take some chances and try to do some stuff that's a little different. There's not really a whole lot of skill that's required for a game like this. It is a nice time waster game, because as you can see from the time limit up there, I spent a lot of time playing some of these different levels. There isn't a whole lot of variation with the gameplay, though. You're really just trying to do the same thing over and over again. If they gave you some more challenges during the story mode, it would have been better. But unfortunately, they really didn't. It kind of suffers from that in a few different ways. This is a game I remember playing with some of my friends. We would play it just in between different RPGs, like when we needed a break from them. I remember either borrowing this from a friend when I borrowed his Super Nintendo, or playing it with him when we started collecting video games. Or it might have been both, to be perfectly honest. I do remember not really challenging him. We got bored and played the two-player mode, so it's not really a challenge or anything like that. But I do remember playing it with my friend Drew quite a bit. It was one of those games that just kind of gave you a bit of a break from everything else that was going on. I do remember playing it over at his house once or twice. We were playing Chrono Trigger, if I remember it correctly. And we swapped over to this one just to kind of get something different in there. Because as much as I like Chrono Trigger, you can only play that game for so long before you want to try something else for a while. Especially if you're over at your friend's house for a weekend and maybe you just want to do something a little bit different. I wasn't really big into fighting games, so that kind of killed that part for us. Mostly of my own problems, but hey, it was still a lot of fun to play with him, and just a lot of fun to play with other people and whatnot. It's not one of those games that This isn't one of those games that I remember really trying to beat or anything like that. Like, this wasn't something that wasn't something we did with this game. We were just trying to do something different, because honestly, if you want to play through this game to beat the whole thing, good luck to you, because this is kind of a pain in the ass to actually beat. It gets boring pretty quick going through the story mode. These puzzle games were always kind of fun to just go through and mess around with, and provide a distraction from other games that we wanted to play at the time. Well, that's pretty much all the memories I have of this. Let's go ahead and move on to my final thoughts on this. I think Tetris Attack is kind of a fun game. I would still probably prefer to play Kirby's Avalanche over this one. That's not to say that it's bad or anything like that. I just prefer one game over another. I think I have more memories of playing Kirby's Avalanche than I do with this one. And depending on when this video comes out, you may or may not have seen Kirby's Avalanche. We'll see. But this was a fun game. It's one of the many puzzle games, and honestly many of the other games on the Super Nintendo, that I didn't know a whole lot about until friends told me about it, or until, you find a ROM online or something like that. It was always interesting to just discover new games for a system that you either never owned or hadn't played before, or hadn't owned when you were growing up, I should say. So that'll wrap things up, guys. I do enjoy this game. I think it's kind of fun. It's not really a Tetris game, but it's kind of fun just to play as it is. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.